The second night of the 2018-19 NHL season featured 10 games. There was lots of action. We're going to review the results and give you my thoughts coming up next. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. If you're new to the channel, thanks for stopping by. We review and discuss all 31 NHL teams. If you're a huge hockey fan, consider subscribing and clicking the bell so you don't miss anything. So as I mentioned off the top, today we're going to review the results from last night's game, Thursday, October the 4th. There was all kinds of action last night. It featured 10 games on the Thursday night schedule. Many of these teams playing their first game of the season, so let's jump in here and take a look at the results and I'll give you my analysis. First up, we got the Ottawa Senators versus the Chicago Blackhawks. The Hawks end up winning this game in overtime by a score of 4-3, but even though both teams were not expected to be overly competitive this year by many, I do think it was a very competitive game. Both teams played a very solid game. Ottawa Senators rookie defenseman Maxime Lajoie scored his first NHL goal on a beautiful feed from Matt Duchene. He later followed that up, getting his first NHL assist on another goal after. So Lajoie was certainly a standout for the Senators last night, certainly playing a big role in his first NHL game. So that's certainly another bright spot here for the Ottawa Senators. Zach Smith opened the scoring for the game. Obviously, that was a big goal for Zach Smith after being placed on waivers not too long ago. He's had a crazy week and a half here with the Senators, being placed on waivers, named an alternate captain, scoring his first goal. So it was nice to see Zach Smith get on the scoreboard and prove some of his doubters wrong. Replying for the Blackhawks, we had Alex DeBrincat, Jonathan Toews, Patrick Kane had the overtime winner as well. So overall, I think it was a very competitive game. Ottawa, as per usual, like last year, gave up way too many shots, but goaltender Craig Anderson was very solid. I thought he played a very good game, even though they lost in overtime. Anderson does seem to have regained some of his past form. So we'll see if the trend continues here for Anderson, where he has good year, bad year, good year, bad year. Obviously, last year was a really bad year. So we'll see how much better it can get this year. It certainly can't get much worse. That is for sure. But overall, I think both teams played a pretty solid game. The Winnipeg Jets beat the St. Louis Blues by a score of 5-1. So certainly a great start for Winnipeg. Not so good for St. Louis. As we know, the Blues made many offseason changes and are hoping for a rebound here from goaltender Jake Allen. This is not the way they hoped things would go on their home opener last night for sure. Early in the game, it was a lot closer. We had a 1-0 Jets lead. Into the third period, the Jets started to score fast and furious, scored 3 really quick goals, followed by a fourth one not long after. Jake Allen did not have a very solid night to start his season. Although I must say some of those goals were certainly not his fault by any means. You could certainly say there's a couple of for sure that he'd like to have back, but not the start that the Blues were looking for by any means at all here. As we know, the Blues have made many changes. It's going to take this team a little bit more time to gel and kind of get things together here before they can put together some more solid hockey. The Winnipeg Jets had a really solid game from goaltender Connor Hellebuyck. He was outstanding. They got goals from Kyle Connor, Blake Wheeler, Patrick Laine opened the scoring. Overall, Winnipeg looked really solid. Many of us have predicted Winnipeg to have an outstanding season, and so far, they got off to a great start. The Pittsburgh Penguins outlasted the Washington Capitals by a score of 7-6 in OT. That game did not feature a lot of great goaltending and a whole lot of defense by any means. There's certainly both teams had lots of goals, lots of shots, a lot of great opportunities. Jake Guentzel had 2 goals for the Penguins, as did Chris Letang, including the overtime winner. TJ Oshie replied with a couple goals for the Capitals. Ovechkin has another one as well. So does John Carlson. So lots of goals from the Capitals here in their first 2 games of the year. They've scored 13 goals. So they're off to a flying start offensively. In the first game against the Bruins, obviously they got a shutout and some better defense. If they can balance out the best of both of those games there moving forward, they may actually be able to have a better chance here of defending that championship. For the Penguins to really have a better chance here moving forward, obviously they're going to have to improve defensively, get some better goaltending. But it certainly was a fun game to watch for sure. The Pittsburgh Penguins and the Washington Capitals always put on a good show, and it's the first game this year of another great rivalry here in the NHL. The Boston Bruins shut out the Buffalo Sabres by a score of 4-0. They ended up coming back here with Jaro Halak in goal after Tuukka Rask got off to a bad start in Game 1 versus the Capitals yesterday. Halak was pretty solid, getting the shutout. Zdeno Chara opened the scoring for the Boston Bruins. Brad Marchand had 4 assists. He was in on every single goal. They also got goals from Ryan Donato, David Pastrnak, and Patrice Bergeron into an empty net. Obviously, this game featured the rookie debut of Rasmus Dahlin. The Sabres were also featuring many other guys in their uniform for the first time, including goalie Carter Hutton and forward Jeff Skinner as well. Overall, the Sabres didn't have too bad a game, but there's certainly a lot of defensive lapses. They do need to get some things together here in order to really show the improvements that they look to have on paper. As many of us have indicated here during the offseason, the Sabres do look to be a muchly improved team, at least theoretically here on paper. Obviously last night they did not show that, but it's going to take some time here. This is only the first game of the year. No fan base of any team really should be too happy or panicking on either side whether your team won or lost or didn't look good or looked awesome. Either way, like I said, it's just one game. I'm sure the Sabres are going to get things together here, and a lot of their youngsters are going to get things figured out. The New York Islanders beat the Carolina Hurricanes 2-1 in overtime. That game featured Thomas Greiss versus Peter Mrazek. In goal, Josh Bailey popped the overtime winner. Andrei Svechnikov, the Hurricanes, obviously the number 2 overall pick, played in his first NHL game as well, unable to get on the score sheet, but certainly lots of youngsters in that lineup here between the Islanders and the Hurricanes. Valtteri Filppula scored the other goal for the Islanders, and Jordan Staal got on the score sheet for the Hurricanes. The Nashville Predators beat the New York Rangers by a score of 3-2. That game featured Pekka Rinne versus Henrik Lundqvist, so a good goaltending duel there. The Predators got goals from Philip Forsberg, P.K. Subban, and Colton Sissons. Replying for the Rangers was Jesper Fast and Pavel Buchnevich. So the Predators opened their season with a road victory against the New York Rangers. The Dallas Stars opened their season with a 3-0 shutout over the Arizona Coyotes. Ben Bishop picking up the shutout. Stars goals were scored by Devin Shore, Alexander Radulov, and John Klingberg. So the Stars had a pretty solid debut here for the new season, getting a shutout versus the Coyotes. I know the Coyotes were hoping for a better fate here. They're another team that we said was greatly improved, but unfortunately, like the Sabres, were not able to get on the score sheet, and many of the youngsters were not able to pull through with some offense here. Again, just like I mentioned with the Sabres, the Coyotes are another team that looks to have improved quite a bit here on paper with the roster changes they've made. They've got a lot of youth looking to make some strides this year as well, and we didn't see that in this game against the Dallas Stars, at least not on the score sheet. But again, like I mentioned with Buffalo, it's one game. I do think the Coyotes are a greatly improved team, and we'll get things together here and have better results here moving forward. The Colorado Avalanche defeated the Minnesota Wild by a 4-1 score. Nate McKinnon and Mikko Rantanen continue things where they left off last year, each getting onto the score sheet. Sergei Varlamov started in goal for the Avalanche. That one was a bit of a question mark for me. I thought they might go with Group, although they opted to play Varlamov instead, and obviously they got the win. He only allowed a 1 goal versus the Wild, which was the first goal of the game, came early in the first period against Wild forward Zach Parise. He was able to shut the door after that, and the Wild were not able to get back on the score sheet to get things close. So the Minnesota Wild kick things off with a home loss, and the Colorado Avalanche start the year on the road with a victory, with Rantanen and McKinnon continuing right where they left off last year. The Blue Jackets defeated the Red Wings by a score of 3-2 in another game that went into overtime. This game featured the first NHL goal for Red Wings, Dennis Cholowski as well. So we had a couple firsts last night for first NHL goals, although they were not the big name rookies that you expected to hear from last night. Also scoring for the Detroit Red Wings in the loss was Tyler Bertuzzi. Replying for the Blue Jackets was Cam Atkinson, Josh Anderson, and your overtime winner scored by Artemi Panarin. Now the final game of the evening featured the Vegas Golden Knights at home hosting the Philadelphia Flyers. As we know, the Vegas Golden Knights had a tremendous first season in the NHL, going all the way to the Stanley Cup Finals, becoming the Western Conference champions. The Vegas Golden Knights raised their Western Conference championship banner last night, but did not get much further, coming up short against the Flyers with a 5-2 defeat. Vegas opened the scoring with a goal from Jonathan Marchessault with a great shot. After that, the Flyers kind of took over and scored 5 consecutive goals before Pierre Bellemare replied late with a shorthanded goal for the Vegas Golden Knights. In between, Marc-Andre Fleury ended up getting pulled. Vegas Golden Knights' blue line was certainly the weak point of the team. Gerard Gallant's going to have to make some adjustments there. Guys like Nick Holton and John Merrill, I thought, really had a bad game for sure. They did not play all that well, leading to a lot of the Philadelphia offense. Wayne Simmons was able to score 2 goals for the Flyers, leading him to the victory. So we had all kinds of great action in the NHL last night with 10 games on the schedule, lots of overtime, a few first NHL goals, lots of exciting action. Again, like I said yesterday, it is great to have hockey back, lots to discuss, all kinds of action to look forward to. So I'd love to hear your thoughts down below in the comment section. What did you think of the action last night? Were there any big surprises for you? What really stuck out as your highlight of the night? If you're new to the channel here, I hope you consider subscribing. We cover all 31 NHL teams, and there's plenty of content here for all hockey fans to enjoy. So if you're new, hit that subscribe button. If you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button as well. I'd really appreciate it if you did. As always, thank you very much for watching, everybody. We will catch you next time.